Make sure I have the right brush for what we're about to do. All right, so I have done the background for these clouds, which took a lot longer than I expected. I painted over the background like 4 times, I think. But I finally got the color that I was looking for to complement the clouds. So now I am just laying my groundwork down. I'm probably gonna brighten these up a little bit along the edges, but for right now, I'm just putting in the main colors. So I've got a couple colors here for the clouds. I've got orange, yellow ochre, and this crimson color, but it's got a little bit more blue into it, so it's a little bit more of a magenta almost. And then I've got this grayish blue that I mixed that has a little bit of purple in it to give that good transition from the blue to the crimson orange colors. You always have to have those different colors in between to give a good transition, because you could go from blue to orange, but it'll look weird and give you this muddy color in the middle if you don't add that little bit of crimson red into it. So let's give it a go. I think I'm gonna do some of the orange. I already laid some of the groundwork for the shape of this cloud, and the bottom I'm not too worried about, because right in this area I've already laid the background for the tree line that's gonna be here. So most of this is gonna probably get covered by trees anyway, so I'm not gonna go too deep into the detail with that. But for starters, we're gonna add in this orange. And I'm trying to just stay with the line that I already created, because this orange does not have a base in it, doesn't have any like white, so it's more of a tint. So if I go over it, as you can see it, or if you can see it there, it looks darker compared to the background with the cream color underneath. Okay. Some of that I'll leave a lot lighter towards the back end, because some of that sunlight that's coming will hit this because it's taller than the front. So I have been doodling clouds since I was supposed to be paying attention in English class in like the 5th, 6th grade, okay? And I never thought that I'd be at the point where I can create clouds from my mind the way that I do now. But that goes to show you, if you just keep practicing something and playing around with it, you'll never know how far you'll go with it. I mean, you never know. Trying to scratch up the wall with my tin plate. I think the best thing about creating something from your mind is you don't truly mess up, you know? You just kind of wing it as you go. As the great Bob Ross would say, creating happy mistakes. Happy accidents. All right, so I've got some of my blue here that I mixed. I started mixing my colors in separate pots just because my little pan could not withstand the amount of paint that I was putting in here to cover these walls. It's not the same as painting a portrait. You need a lot more product to do what we're about to do. So I'm just grabbing some of this blue. I don't clean my brushes when I'm doing clouds. And the reason why I don't is because clouds are a fluid, a gas, so to speak. So when you're creating something, you want a little bit of what you've created to touch and transfer over into the next part of the piece that you do. It just makes it more cohesive as far as your colors are concerned. It's much more natural, and it saves you time. So I'm adding in this dark spot. This is the shadow of the cloud, okay? So you have certain parts of the clouds that are exposed to the sunlight. Certain parts of the cloud where the sunlight is kind of peering through. And you have other parts of the clouds that are completely reflecting the light back. I'll put a little bit down here. I'm just gonna find little random spots to put this dark shade, but I'm going with what I know about clouds already. I'm using everything I've learned about clouds so far to determine where I would like to put these shadows. If I don't like where the shadow is, I just cover it up. That's the best thing about using acrylic or any paint in general, but acrylic especially because it dries so quickly. And most of the cloud halfway will be darker. You're gonna have darker spots throughout the whole thing, but most of it will be darker. Just gonna color in this one, a little blue, then come back with a little orange and a little yellow ochre. I need the yellow because I need that opaque color and it's close to the orange, so it's not white, so I don't have to worry about brightening this piece too much. And I come back in with some more of the orange. It's a nice deep orange. And I'm just spreading this out. Add some more orange. A little bit of this crimson because we're getting closer to this skyline that we already created. And I do want it to blend. Like I said, whatever you're touching, whatever it is, touching anything, it needs to have that transition color. Without those transition colors, it doesn't look like it belongs. I'm just bringing that shadow down on here. A little orange in here. Like I said, if I don't think something's working, I just go back over it. There is no point in life where you can't take a moment, go back, and change direction. You can always change your direction. And there's nothing wrong with changing your direction. You do what feels right inside. And what feels right inside of you might not always feel right inside of someone else. And that is okay. Being different is okay. It's coming together. It's coming together. I think it's a little bit darker in some areas than I would like. So we're going to end up lighting it up a little bit. I have another color down here that I mixed when I initially painted the background for the clouds. And I'm going to use some of that. And I'm just going to add it in here just a little bit. So I kind of want to lighten this up some. And I definitely want to lighten this up because this is where the sun is hitting it. So I'm just adding it over top real quick just to get that color on there, you know? I still want this orange. That's my transition color. Now I'm just gonna pat this a little bit so I can spread it out through this area. See, we're getting close to how this is. Now this cloud is still going to be lighter than this one because of where it's located. The higher up you go during a sunset, the more light it's getting. The lower you go, you're getting that darker orangish red spectrum of light. And that's also something I honestly suggest that anyone who is learning about art, learn about light. Try to understand reflections and spectrum of colors and all these things, because they play like a really important role in creating. And I'm just bringing it on down. And I bring it down to the area that I just added all that nice wet paint in because I want to blend it. I want to blend it and I want to bring some of that color back up with me. That's another technique I use to really bring these pieces together. Going back and picking up some of that color and meeting in the middle. It's just a great way to make something cohesive and look like it actually belongs there. All right? I think I'm gonna add a nice little dark spot here too, while I still have some of this paint right here on my brush. It's nice to be able to reuse something. Blend that out a little bit. And we'll come back to that one. anywhere I feel that this color that I just picked up might be useful, I'm gonna go ahead and take it and put it in those areas, because I definitely want to make sure that this piece is cohesive. Now I'm just blending that edge. I don't want it to be too hard. Kind of want it to blend in some. Let's see. Let's blend this into this part too. I like to look at my camera so I can see what it looks like standing back. That way I don't have to go off of my pedestal for a moment. Makes it much easier. It's easier on my knees. Then put a little light spot right here. Got a little bit of a sun spot, you know, it's peeking through just a little part of the cloud here. I think that's nice. And brighten it up just a little. And I'm making sure that the strokes that I'm doing are in circular motions, like wax on, wax off, because clouds have these puffy parts. And some are more swift. Sometimes you have to have swift motions. But they do have these puffy parts. And I definitely want to put that in there so that you can see the parts of the cloud that are real fluffy. All right, so now I'm coming back in here in those highlighted areas and I'm bringing in this yellow ochre, right? And I'm just gonna do that all over. You gotta be careful about the color you picked up before. It can show through a little. I have a little bit of that dark color on the brush. So I'm not pressing my brush really hard. I'm doing it very lightly. So that I don't push that dark pink that's underneath still on my brush onto the canvas. I'm just gonna create some little fun shapes here. Little fun shapes here and there. I'm gonna bring this color down some because there are different little gaps and hills and valleys and crevices in the clouds. And sometimes I'll use my finger to blend some. And I don't want to pick up another brush because the finger has texture. So sometimes you'll get the coolest little shapes using what God gave you. I haven't done finger painting in a while. I might have to try that. Okay. And again, I'm turning and twisting my brush. Sometimes I do the complete circles and sometimes I'll twist it like I am using a screwdriver. Looks like it's coming together, you guys. What do you think? It looks nice. All right. I like it. I like it. I like it. I think I'm gonna bring this yellow down some more. And I think I'm going to bring it into this orange. So orange mixed with the yellow ochre. Put some more yellow ochre on here. Now, if you haven't noticed, acrylic colors dry several shades darker than when you initially put them on the canvas. So, if your paint is drying much darker than what you expected, just add a little white or a brighter hue of that color. To get the desired shade that you're looking for. So I'm going to go back in because I want that to be much brighter than what it is. Much brighter. Before I do though, I'm going to come back because I already had this color on my brush. I'm going to come back in this area over here and I am going to I'm only adding the yellow ochre because that orange is a tint, it's not opaque, and I need to cover parts of this cloud. I'm also brightening it up just a little to show the sun hitting it. It's a little much, so I'm going to come back in with some orange. Here we go. Balance that out some. I'm also letting my brush kind of go a little awry here so it can make some little unique shapes that it wouldn't normally make when it's out. I do not want my clouds to be super uniform. Nothing natural is ever uniform. It's always new. Okay. I'm gonna make this part a little bit darker. Like I said, sometimes you'll look at something and you'll like it, and then you'll look at it again and think, huh, maybe I'll change this a bit. And that is just fine. You have that ability to do whatever it is you like. Whatever makes you happy. So I blend that one in with my finger. Okay. It's looking very, very nice, you guys. I think it's looking really, really nice. I will say I'm gonna add some darker clouds over top of this orange right here, just because it's too much of a jump from this dark cloud to this really bright cloud. So I want to show that there are still dark clouds here. Just gonna put that over over top. Add a little bit of this crimson in here as well. I'm just going to blend this out with my finger because I want this cloud to start to kind of disappear. So I'm just doing some real sporadic movements, nothing special, just random movements. Okay. Gonna add some more blue. And I'm also gonna grab that base color that we had before, brighten this up some. I'm gonna wipe it off a little bit on the palette because I put too much on the brush. I'm doing my best to match the color I have here. I'm gonna bring some of that blue here. Again, I am still moving my finger in circles. I'm bringing my finger down as I do to start bringing that orange into that dark blue. Now I'm going to bring some of this creamy gray color into this piece to be a little bit more uniform with this above. And I'm gonna bring it in so it can connect with the rest of the cloud. It may be passing in front of this cloud, so I'll give it a little something to put it in the forefront, make it a little bit lighter, so it's a little bit more in the forefront. All right. I'm also gonna do that here too. Give that piece of that cloud a little bit of depth. I think that looks very nice. I just want to blend out that orange cloud a little more to give that look of fading. Don't want to just, I'm just going to use my finger here because my brush is currently covered in that dark color. And I'm probably going to go over this cloud a little bit more. So I'm just going to do this. And this is going to be fine because you don't have to worry about too much detail because the tree line is going to cover a lot of this. And I know it can be a little, not necessarily taxing, but maybe counterproductive to, or feel like it's counterproductive to paint this part, even though it's going to be covered. But I mean, when you're trying to really create a piece that is much more realistic, if you think about it, if you're looking through a tree line or woods or at the lake or whatever, sometimes you will see the trees behind. I'm sorry, not the trees behind, but the clouds behind the trees. So if that's something that you see in real life, then why not paint that into your piece to give your piece that much more of a real concept. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Let's take a moment. I am going to get a smaller brush. And we're going to add our base color in here as a highlight. This is a new brush, so it's got some little straggly hairs. Now the way that I do this is I just come in and I tap my finger right afterwards before it starts to dry. Painting using your mind is like writing a story. You are creating it as you go. And sometimes things don't fit and you have to go back and revise what you've written. And that's okay. Now this is still going to be darker than what I would like for it to be. So if I need to lighten it some more, then I will. And the closer I get this way, the brighter these edges need to be. So I will be coming back with a much lighter color. Since that's still wet, I can just make my little movements. Let's not forget our little extra cloud that we made there. You have to remember to add whatever definition is needed. So that we know that that was a separate cloud. That's looking really, really nice. I'm loving how it's turning out. I think I want to use this brush I had earlier. Where did I put it? That's okay. I'll just grab another. I'm gonna add some more darkness here. And I'm just making this very wispy. This part of the cloud is wispy. I'm gonna add a little water. Not sure if you can see that one. Kind of ventured off into some more clouds over here. Okay, well, that's gonna be it for right now. Like I said, all this is gonna be covered by tree lines, so I'm not even worried about that part. Still have a few more clouds to do, and by a few, I am definitely under exaggerating. But this is what we have so far. I think the clouds are turning out beautiful, you guys. We have to bring some over here too. But yeah, that was a fun little tutorial. I'm super excited about this project. I'm geeking out right now. All right, you guys, next time.